Welcome. You've got mail.
It's the Millennial Midlife Crisis Podcast with Justin and Sean. Take it away, guys.
Alrighty, everybody, what's up? I'm Justin. There's Sean. We are back. Episode 12 of the Millennial Midlife Crisis Podcast. This week, Sean had a great idea. We were talking about Saturday Night Live. And I don't know. I'm hesitant to say, oh, well, it was good back in the day when we were kids. Because I think there are still times and good seasons as of recent as well. I have not had a chance to keep up with this season so much. But in the past, I've enjoyed some of the previous seasons. So we're going to talk about best skits, best guests, best cast members, best maybe musician groups that stopped by, best weekend update people, because that could go many different ways. So yeah, we got a few clips that I ripped that we can talk about as well. But Sean, anything new since our last episode? Anything exciting going on in the world of yours?
No. That's the most exciting way I can say it too. It's just nope. But you know what they say, no news is good news. So let's just roll with it that way, I guess.
Sure.
Sure. Nothing good, nothing bad, just living life, working.
Yeah.
Working.
Working. It's not a bad gig, I'd say. Not a bad setup, I guess.
Not always.
Okay. All right. Well, let's have some fun. We're gonna talk about SNL. Sean, where should we start? Should we start with maybe how about we start at the beginning? How did you get into Saturday Night Live? What was your gateway? Was there a certain year, certain cast? Was it reruns on Comedy Central? I know that's how I got into it. Maybe a little bit before that, but yeah, what do you got?
I would say my mom's always been a fan of it since the original, like Not Ready for Primetime Players. I've always been a big comedy guy. Probably summers, like you said, probably reruns on Comedy Central and reruns on E.
Okay.
E used to run the hell out of them because E used to rerun like 80s and 90s ones constantly. So that's when I really got to fall in love with like Chris Farley and David Spade and Tim Meadows and a lot of like Julia Sweeney, all the late 80s, early 90s, Dana Carvey, players like that. And then that was kind of my gateway. And then I started watching it live or in the moment or in the year, or I don't know what was current then, which would have been like mid 90s. This is when like Will Ferrell, Chris Kattan started coming on. And then that led to early 2000s, which was, Will Ferrell and those guys again, and a couple of the other players. And then I've basically been watching it semi-religiously ever since. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I remember getting into it on my mom's side of the family. We'd go, visit my aunt and uncle or whatever for dinner on the weekends with my family, or we'd go over to my grandparents out in Lamont. And I remember us staying out there late a couple times and them having it on. And I just was like enamored with it. I didn't know what it was. Like it blew my mind. So this would have been around like 95, 96. 97. Okay. So we're talking like the Jim Brewer, Will Ferrell, Anna Gasteyer, Daryl Hammond, Chris Kattan, Tim Meadows, Tracy Morgan, all them. And just being like, whoa, this is so funny. Loving Weekend Update. There are countless, I am hesitant to say this, there are countless home movies we have on my parents' camcorder of me pretending to do my own Weekend Update skits.
Yes.
And just totally referencing as like an 8-year-old referencing the OJ trial nonstop, because that was like the main thing they talked about in like 95, 96, whatever.
Yeah, it has to be awesome.
Yes. I think we have one of my sister and I pretending to be Goat Boy, which is Jim Brewer.
That's a great one.
So that was kind of my gateway. and then it was just watching it every Saturday night. And then similar to you, like when I was in grade school, we got to go home for lunch because we lived like 2 blocks away from our school. And same thing, Comedy Central would run the 80s and 90s or late 80s, early 90s reruns on during lunchtime. So that was my intro to, Adam Sandler and Dana Carvey and Kevin Nealon and Chris Farley and Phil Hartman. Where can we start with Phil Hartman? And just like there's so many of those skits that at the time I had no idea what they were referencing, but I just thought they were hysterical. And then going back and seeing them now, like on YouTube and watching them and be like, oh my God, this is so much funnier because A, you have the reference as an adult now, and B, it's just like, oh my God, this is hysterical. So like there's a Phil Hartman sketch where he plays Bill Clinton going on a jog with Tom Arnold as his security detail.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
And he's we're just gonna stop and say hi to the constituents in the McDonald's, and then he's just referencing his political campaign and being like, we're trying to get food down to, I don't know if it was either referencing Iraq and Persian Gulf or Mexico and NAFTA, but like going on and on about, well, we want to send these supplies, take these chicken McNuggets, these are the supplies, but we send them intercepted by the warlords. And he goes, I'm the warlord. And he's eating, and then a chocolate shake and everything else. So, amazing.
Absolutely what the most ironic line of that sketch is? Do you remember what it is?
You're going to have to remind me.
So in the very beginning, when he first jogs into the McDonald's, Tim Meadows goes, sir, Mrs. Clinton, or we promised Mrs. Clinton that we wouldn't let you into any more.
There's going to be a lot of things.
Yep.
We don't tell Mrs. Clinton.
And I'm just like, this was like 92. So this was like before everything.
Everything. Yeah.
And it just like that hits so much harder now. And I mean, that's one of those things I wish I could like ask Phil Hartman, like, dude, like just fantastic.
My buddy Greg wrote in on the Facebook post that we just sent out. He said anything with Christopher Walken, in specifically the I Got a Fever and the only prescription is more cowbell. That I feel like I've heard, was it Jimmy Fallon or maybe it was Horatio Sands talking about how, Will Ferrell was given that sweater that was 2 sizes too small. He was not given that sweater during dress rehearsal, I think. And then I think when it came time for the real skit, they switched out the sweater so that it was way too small on him. I could be wrong, but I feel like I've heard that somewhere.
I have not heard that, but I don't doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've brought it up several times before, but the Fly on the Wall podcast, which is Dana Carvey and David Spade, they give a lot of nice background information on a lot of that kind of stuff. One of my favorite little tidbits, and I mean we're rolling, so we might as well jump into it.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Dana Carvey's massive head wound Harry?
Yes. Okay. Which even as a kid grossed me out. It still grosses me out to this day.
Oh, it is. It's gross.
Yeah.
But
I am familiar.
But yeah, so that so the little side note to that is during rehearsal they put a little bit of baby food in the we'll call it apparatus or whatever. And they said when they did it for the live audience, they like had it really caked in there. And that's why the dog just absolutely
going
goes
nuts.
to town.
Yeah. That's too funny.
So,
that's too good. Yeah, I mean, let's discuss. Is there any cast member in particular that you felt like, I know we discussed Phil Hartman a little bit, but any cast member that just comes to mind, like changed your perception of what was funny and what wasn't funny on the show? I can see it. I think Sean's having some audio.
Hold on 1 second. I'm losing audio.
All right. Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to play a skit here. One in particular that I know that I always found really funny was anything Chris Farley did was hysterical to me. So Matt Foley.
Sorry, guys. Everybody.
No, you're all good, Sean. No worries. Matt Foley, the motivational speaker, I think is one of the best. So we're going to play this clip if you've heard this before. Here we go.
Now, as your father probably told you, my name is Matt Foley, and I am a motivational speaker. Now let's get started by letting me give you a little bit of a scenario of what my life is all about. First off, I am 35 years old, I am divorced, and I live in a van down by the river.
All right, Sean, I just want to call attention. We're both older than Matt Foley now.
Dude.
All right, so that skit goes on. There is another part I pulled because it's my favorite. I'll continue that right now. But if you haven't seen the skit, Chris Farley is Matt Foley. Phil Hartman plays the dad. I can't think of who plays the mom, and I know her name. It's the same. It's the lady that played Pat. I can't remember what her name.
Julia Sweeney.
There you go. And then you got David Spade as the son, and then Christina Applegate was the guest as the daughter, and they found drugs, I believe. So here's the rest of that skit.
Now you kids are probably saying to yourselves, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get the world by the tail and wrap it around and pull it down and put it in my pocket. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're probably going to find out as you go out there that you're not going to amount to jack squat. You're going to end up eating a steady diet of government cheese and living in a van down by the river.
So I don't know where that the government cheese thing comes from. I would love to know, but at this point, David Spade is completely covering his face. He is broke. Yep. I think Christina Applegate is hiding. Phil Hartman is just a rock. Like nothing phases that guy at all. And then he goes on to ask them, I believe he asks David Spade, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he says, I want to be a writer. And this is his response.
Ryan, from what I've heard, you're using your paper not for writing, but for rolling doobies. You're going to be doing a lot of doobie rolling when you're living in a van down by the river. Young lady, what do you want to do with your life?
I want to live in a van down by the river.
Well, you'll have plenty of time to live in a van down by the river when you're living in a van down by the river.
All right, which I think that's a great way. And then it goes on that he's going to move in with them and they lock the doors and they say they'll never do drugs again and stuff like that. So I remember seeing that for the first time. It might have been on a Saturday Night Live episode on Comedy Central as a rerun. And then I remember one of my friends got the best of Chris Farley on, I think this would have been VHS at this time, which is scary. And we played that thing nonstop. We probably just kept rewinding to that skit. Like this was hysterical to us. And it's still pretty good. But that clip, that audio file doesn't do it justice, I think.
Are you familiar with the backstory of where this came from and all that?
I feel like I want to say I read his brother's book about him, and I feel like it's mentioned in there, but it's been so long I don't remember. I don't remember the specifics.
So he wrote it at Second City. Him and if you're familiar with his name escapes me. The guy who plays Saul in Breaking Bad.
Oh, Bob
Odenkirk.
Bob Odenkirk, thank you.
Yeah, him and Bob Odenkirk wrote it at Second City. Okay. What makes it even funnier is Matt Foley was the name of Chris Farley's real priest back in his hometown.
Okay, that's pretty funny. That is pretty funny. Should we go straight into the Gap Girls skit too that we've?
It kind of rides. They kind of ride together.
This was Farley, Sandler, and Spade playing. I'm trying to think of the time frame. Would this have been like, or this would have been like what, 90, 91, maybe 92, something like that.
Somewhere in around there.
They were the stereotypical mall girls, right? Like preppy, I don't even know what you'd call it, but here is them. They're sitting down eating at the food court, and here's what they have to say.
God, I love these fries.
If you love them so much, why don't you marry them? Can I have some?
Sure, Cindy, go ahead.
Oh, God, these are good.
Sydney, can you leave some for us? I thought you were trying to lose weight.
Lay off me, I'm starving.
So there you go. Another classic. And I want to say there's multiple episodes with that skit.
There is.
That's
probably
the
best
one though that's probably the best and the most well known. But yeah, Chris Farley, man, like I even remember when he passed away, like even as a kid, I was kind of bummed. Like between Black Sheep and Tommy Boy, you know, as a kid I liked Black Sheep more, which I don't think it holds up nearly as well probably today. But yeah, I was bummed. That was a really rough one. And like I said, I think the book is called The Chris Farley Show. Is that right?
I
That was
believe
written
that's
by
correct, yeah.
which I remember it being a pretty quick read. I enjoyed it.
I
But
did
yeah,
too.
man, Chris Farley he's a Hall of Fame cast member in my book.
Oh, definitely Mount Rushmore if you're gonna do if you're gonna play that game.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic of Chris Farley, the other one I wanted to bring up is the sketch where he's the tourist in Japan.
Oh God,
And
yes, and then he gets tortured.
He accidentally ends up on the Japanese game show.
And then,
It's him, Janine Garofalo, and Alec Baldwin. Oh, it's by far that's probably one of my all-time favorite Saturday Night Live Chris Farley, because not only that, but in doing research for this, of course, I watched it again. Oh man, the knocking it out of the park on the Japanese gibberish out of all of them, just the straight face of all of them. It really looked Japanese, and just Chris Farley's legit, just like, well, me and the wife here came to Japan from Milwaukee, and but no, everybody's been super nice, but I don't know what you guys are saying. Like
he played that Midwestern Midwestern dunce, like so well, right? So I do remember that one. I think at one point, don't they have him like arms are like chained and they're like shocking him at a certain point,
that's like the bonus round or whatever, because he beats everybody, which the irony in that, of course. And then he gets super nervous because Alec Baldwin and everybody they have to like cut off a finger when they get the answers wrong, and he's like, oh my God, like what is going, does anyone speak English? Like he does this whole, he just panics, and it's just
nonstop.
It's just fun to watch. I could watch that over and over again.
Another one that I think my friends and I would rent the best of quite a few times, and this was because we were back in the day, we were huge Austin Powers fans. At least 1 and 2, 3, I'm not a big fan of, but Mike Myers on SNL, I feel like was another guy that, you know, the coffee talk lady, the
Linda Richmond,
Linda Richmond, which was huge, and you know, you had Wayne and Garth, and yeah, I will admit I was never a fan of Sprockets. That kind of humor was lost on me as a kid, and even to this day, I'm not really a fan of the, I don't know, what would you say, weird for the sake of weird, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I get what it's going for. It's like the Eastern German before the fall, the Berlin Wall, like the weird Eastern German, like public access kind of thing, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. That one wasn't really for me, but I think Sean froze there. But I'm
still here.
Okay, well that's good. All right, we'll let your camera go. But what, I don't, did you like Sprockets, Sean? Uh-oh, you're muted, Sean. Uh-oh, or maybe it's your microphone. I don't know. It could be the microphone. But yeah, Sprockets, I know there was, for the longest time, they were in talks of doing a Sprockets movie, which I don't think that ever got off the ground. And I know there's still talk. I can hear you a little bit now, Sean.
Anything now?
Yes, much better. Perfect.
Hey, cool. Sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, so Sprockets. What was your take on Sprockets?
It was if you look at the time period, which was like the early 90s, like when we were adolescents, I think it was awesome because it was just a funny accent, and it was, you know, would you like to touch my monkey? And you got to say that, and you didn't, I don't want to say you didn't get in trouble, but you also didn't kind of understand what that meant.
Right. Yeah.
So, or the double entendre of it.
Right. And then I remember there was some that was just like very like weird, like found footage just of like, it was like upsetting, not upsetting, but like upsetting looking footage of like rotten meat and like going for
Right.
that like Eastern German, like really weird sense of humor.
Just artsy sort of. Yeah.
And I know there was, for the longest time on IMDb, there was like a Sprockets movie in pre-production. I don't think it ever got off the ground. So, and
That I don't see that going anywhere. Like,
don't either anywhere either.
it's
But
just not.
what I will tell you though, in terms of skits, that like one of the first ones that grabbed my attention as a kid watching it live was Night at the Roxbury skits. The first one I saw was with Jim Carrey, which
That's a
I would
classic
argue is
one.
that's probably the best one. I don't know. I can't think of anyone else in particular.
There's one with Helen Hunt where she's their therapist, and she's trying to
yes,
get them to like calm down and like not be that guy. And then of course they end up like humping her back and forth, and
right.
and all that.
And the fact that Hathaway song, "What Is Love," if I hear that on the radio, that is literally all I can think of. So I remember for a while my mom would tape SNL for me if I was too tired or didn't stay up. And I still remember her taping that Jim Carrey episode and like watching that all the time, because that was a classic episode in my mind.
That's
just
a great one.
He was on fire when he was, yeah. And I remember there's a scene where they're dancing and they pick up a bunch of like ladies from the senior citizen center.
Yeah. They go throughout the night. Yeah. They go to like an old folks home. They go to like a prom. They go to all that.
Yeah. They go. And then, he's making out with this old lady, 80-year-old lady in the back seat. And then he pulls her dentures out and he's like, score. So, oh God, I'm looking at I'm on SNL fandom, the SNL fandom wiki right now. He hosted that episode May 18th, 1996 with musical guest Soundgarden. Talk about a great episode. Like, I mean, I like Soundgarden. I don't know a ton of Soundgarden, but the stuff I do like was good.
I was just laughing because I don't think a more 90s SNL could have existed. Unless it was Pearl Jam or Nirvana.
Well, even you mentioning that Helen Hunt episode, I remember there was a Christmas episode she hosted, and it was Hanson was the musical guest. And in her monologue, she references that she's the fourth Hanson twin or fourth Hanson son, or fourth Hanson child or whatever. Right. But yeah, I don't know any other skits.
Well, since we're on the topic of Mike Myers,
sure.
One of my favorite Mike Myers is the one where he's the kid that has too much sugar and he's tied to the jungle gym with
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, and she's just like, "You're weird," and he's like, or no, they're just being little kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that was another one that I constantly quote even to this day, where he's just like, one time my mom's car broke down and she gave me a chocolate bar and a Coke and I towed it all the way home.
And that could probably happen. Knowing the toddlers I know, but
oh my God, is that funny, though?
And then him doing the little run trying to pull the monkey bars of the jungle gym, and he's tied to the jungle gym with a harness.
Yes. She offers him the chocolate, and he's like, "You're the devil."
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great one.
One that we have to mention, and I know we pulled the clip for this one, is Al Franken as Stuart Smalley. Even as like a 10-year-old, I didn't get it, the daily affirmation and therapy and talking things. I didn't understand, but I just thought that skit was hilarious. And I remember that movie was on HBO all the time as a kid. I think it's Stuart Saves His Family.
I've seen most of the Saturday Night Live movies. I have not seen that one. I'm not.
I know I saw it as a kid, but I couldn't tell you a single thing about that movie. Like nothing
other than Al Franken's in it.
Al Franken's in it. In the box art on the VHS tape is like him like holding the globe, like trying to save everybody. I don't remember the specifics, but yeah, that's another good one. So let's play this. Man, this was back in the day. Michael Jordan was the host with Al Franken as Stuart Smalley. Here we go.
Affirmation. Affirmation? Yes. Now look in the mirror. Come on. Don't look at me, only you can help you. That's it. Say, hello, Michael.
Hello, Michael.
I don't have to be a great basketball player.
I don't have to be a great basketball player.
I don't have to dribble the ball fast or throw the ball into the basket.
I don't have to
And the look
dribble
that-
fast or throw
The look
the
he
ball
gives
in
in the mirror is
basket.
great.
The audience just eats it.
Because- All I have to do is be the best Michael I can be.
All I have to do is be the best Michael I can be.
Because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
There you go. So yeah, that was
There it
another
is,
one.
dude.
Like, I remember watching those reruns of that era and like quoting that kind of stuff all throughout school. And like none of
Oh,
the
yeah.
other kids were really watching the reruns. I mean, they might have been watching the regular show, but oh, Josh is in the chat, and doggone it, like me. Yes. So what okay, let's get into this part. Weekend Update is a mainstay throughout the years. Do you have a favorite Weekend Update host or like a Weekend Update vibe that they kind of provided, whether it was a two-man or a two-person update desk or a one-person? What was your favorite? Who was your favorite?
Favorite is rough. I don't. Oh, man, I loved Tina Fey when she was with both
Amy
Amy
Poehler?
Poehler and Jimmy Fallon.
Sure.
I love the original. I love Chevy Chase. Just he was so straightforward newsman. You know, I thought that was really good. I always like Colin Quinn just because.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I just love the way that, because as you know, and anyone else who's listening who watches, sometimes they just don't hit. And Colin Quinn always had this like, what do you want? This is what I got. He always had that just kind of like, this is me, this is it. Please take it or leave it. I don't care.
Right.
And I've always kind of like, as a comic myself or wannabe comic or whatever you want to like describe me as, I've always kind of appreciated that. And I'm kind of in that realm myself personally. So I kind of get it where it's like, well, sometimes it's easier. Like if you don't get it, that's your fault.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to pander
it's
to
on
you.
you. Yeah,
exactly. So, yeah, I mean, you know, Norm Macdonald would hit him sideways sometimes, which was fun to watch. Yeah, like right now, actually, Colin Jost and Michael Che, I'm really enjoying.
I enjoy. I'd say the Weekend Update is the thing I look forward to most the last couple of years, just because
I definitely agree with that.
They have a great rapport when they write each other's jokes and don't kill each other.
That's my favorite.
The fact that Michael Che paid a woman to pretend to be a civil rights activist from the 1960s that supposedly marched with with Martin Luther King. And then the story broke later that it was just an actress. She had nothing to do with any of that. She wasn't a real person.
I did not know that.
Yes. I looked that up after we watched it because I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, how did I not know who this woman was? I've never heard of her before. And I looked it up and it was through a few different links I had to click. They're like, oh yeah, that's an actress. She's been in a bunch of stuff. So he just paid this woman and made up the name because he knew that,
just to make him sweat. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're great. I think Colin Quinn, I think you said he did a great job, especially under the circumstances coming in after they fired Norm Macdonald for, the guy that ran NBC being friends with OJ and being tired of the OJ jokes. But yeah, Norm Macdonald was my favorite just because he was doing it when I got started watching it. I loved his demeanor in the sense that like he would do a joke, but he would almost enjoy it even more when the joke bombed, because then he'd be like, oh, you don't know what's coming next. If you don't like this, you're in trouble. Like very, very self-deprecating, which I think is something I kind of do myself. Or I love when he would start the joke and then the punchline and like the punchline was like a more grave situation or a more serious situation than the beginning of the joke. And there's one he's like, now you don't know what the hell to laugh at. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, in that very monotone thing. I also, and I don't know if I wouldn't consider him the best by any means, but I really enjoyed Kevin Nealon too.
Yeah.
But he had a different, everybody had a very different style. Like, I think you said like, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler were awesome together. I really liked them as well. I've seen a little bit of Dennis Miller, but I could take or leave Dennis. I feel like it's the like stereotypical Dennis Miller, like performance or like interpretation or impression of him is actually pretty accurate, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Norm Macdonald just is awesome. I remember he had I'm pretty sure it was Norm Macdonald. This is what like really got me into Weekend Update. He had a joke, and it was something and this is such a stupid joke, something along the lines of where they would just take clippings of news stories that were really stupid. And this one was like, you know, dog runs in and saves family from burning building. Only problem is the police, you know, and then calls the police, and he's like, only problem is the house burnt down because the police and fire department didn't know the address. Woof woof. And like, it's stupid joke. But as a kid, I found that hilarious, and like that is why we talked about before the show started. You go down a YouTube wormhole or rabbit hole, and like, there's been times where it's like, oh god, I just watched 25 minutes of Weekend Update skits from 90s and 2000s. So yeah, I don't know, that's definitely where I'm at on that. And then also the constant berating of OJ, which ultimately led to him getting fired, is just a funny backstory that he kind of, I don't know if he capitalized on it, but I feel like he kind of turned it into something too, because, you know, but
that's a great, like, if you're gonna go out, like, just go out on your own terms, you know.
Right.
And I really like that. Josh is talking about when Will Ferrell was the college dude on Weekend.
Alone.
Yes,
that is a good one.
And then he starts singing Your Eyes, because he's talking about his friend that died, and he's like, and that porch collapsed, man. And he loved that song.
I'm glad Josh brings up the quote unquote guest they'd have on Weekend Update. Like, one that I loved that Chris Farley did was, I can't think of the character's name, but it was like where he would constantly do the
air quotes.
I don't have the best hygiene, and I can't. I'm gonna have to look it up while I'm talking
I eat
here.
My own dandruff.
Yes.
Yeah. He was like the sweaty guy in like the suit and tie and all that. And then that's the one where they lifted him out of the chair.
Yes, Bennett
Brower.
Bennett Brower.
Yeah, and he gets caught in the lights, and he's like, I got a little bit of a weight problem, and yeah.
Here we go. Here's some, it says, maybe I am not your typical buff-bodied, blow-dried department store mannequin TV new person. Maybe I do eat my own dandruff. Maybe I do pop my white heads with a compass I used in high school. Oh, God. But yeah, just these horribly, like, don't share these things in public, and he's just doing the air quotes and things like that.
Yeah.
I would even say, I loved when, oh God, I can't think of their names now. When they would come on as the Trump sons, recently in the last like 5 or 6 years, I always found that really good. You know, Adam Sandler's Opera Man is silly, but I enjoyed, or anytime he came on with a song. I am very, very partial to the, you know, the Hanukkah song is great, but like, I think there's a couple other songs he wrote that don't get as much play that are on the Weekend Update stuff that I really enjoyed as well. But what about you? Any others?
Costumes.
Yes.
I'm crazy newspaper face boy.
Now give me some candy.
I'm crazy under the desk boy. Just leave the candy and I'll get it later. Like all those were. I know it's not 90s, but we were talking just kind of in Weekend Update in general.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite ones that doesn't get a lot of play too was when Cecily Strong would play the girl you wish you
didn't talk to at a party. Yeah. Yes.
Oh my God. That or Drunk Uncle. Drunk Uncle's one of my favorites.
I really like Drunk Uncle. I really like, and I feel like maybe it's a little played out at this point, but I love Stefan as well.
Oh, Stefan, awesome.
Erica and I have watched the highlights of him as Bill Hader as Stefan multiple times, you know. there's one where he's referencing Spud Webb and then all the double and triple entendre stuff and all that. But yeah,
Then you go to the club and it's called diabetes.
That's right. Yes. What about like obviously the digital shorts got really popular when we were in high school in Lonely Island, and I actually do enjoy. I haven't watched their movie, but is it the Please Don't Burn or
Please Don't Destroy?
Please Don't Destroy. Thank you. I've been partial to some of theirs. I think some of theirs have been decent.
They're hit or miss.
Yes.
On the last couple episodes, they've done okay. Like one's been really good, then another one's.
Like,
what? Who okayed this?
Yeah. They don't have the percentage where they're hitting as many times as the Lonely Island guys, I think.
No, absolutely
for a stretch.
Not.
And I mean, there were definitely Lonely Island ones too that I was like, oh, that did not live up to the hype of the other ones they done. But I feel like those guys were almost in a bad spot because there's no way you're going to keep turning out. I mean, some of those were hits after hit. Eric and I still listen to, I'm on a boat. We'll play from. We kept trying to get Maddie to dance to it. She would not dance it. It was too aggressive. She didn't like it. So the Michael Bolton one is one of my favorites as well. But yeah, I don't know one of the commercials that they used to do. This would have been probably mid to late 90s was the "Oops, I Crapped My Pants" for the adult diapers.
Yep,
great one. Still reference that one all the time as well with family, oddly enough. But any of those that really are drawn to your mind that you really enjoyed or found great?
Commercials there. I mean,
it's hit or miss. It's very hit or miss.
Like there's the Chris Farley one for the coffee flavored crystals, the hidden camera, where he goes like, this isn't real coffee. And then he destroys the restaurant. And, at the end, they're like, how's it make you feel? And he's like, angry. That's a good one. Mike Myers for the British toothpaste that it's just sugar. And they all have terrible teeth.
Yeah, the horrible teeth.
It even tastes good on a cracker. And he's like eating it at the end and stuff like that. That's a great commercial. I don't know if it was 90s or early 2000s when Will Ferrell was the dog trainer and he was like, it was like sarcastic, negative reinforcement.
Yes.
Go ahead, sit on the, go ahead, crap on the sofa or whatever. He's like,
it's no big deal.
Good.
Yeah. That's another good one. What about in terms of like, obviously I feel like a lot of it is dependent upon who the host is. Like even
oh god, yeah.
I mean, like obviously the writers can write really good stuff, but if the host doesn't have the chops to do it, which I've been on stage like once for a play in high school, so I have no room to talk or breathe on this one. But like I feel like if they don't have the chops, so to speak, that can kind of bring everything down, no matter how good the writing is. Is there any host that you really enjoyed, or B, if we want to go negative, ones that you're like, oh gosh, this person didn't really belong up there because it wasn't a good show?
Tom Hanks always hits it out of the park.
Yes, I would agree.
I've heard so many people say that if he wanted to be a cast member, he could be, and I totally agree with that. Even not only just the characters that he plays, but like they did a Celebrity Jeopardy where he played himself.
Yes,
and he was like beyond stupid. He couldn't get himself out of a dry cleaning bag. Like he found himself wrapped in plastic. He's a great host, of course. Like Steve Martin.
Yeah.
John Goodman is another one that always hits it. Alec Baldwin. I don't know what's going to happen with him.
Yeah,
now,
I don't know. I don't know if he'll be back anytime soon. But yeah.
But I mean, even pre-Trump stuff, because everybody loved his Trump, and it's great. It's decent. It's fantastic. I don't want to say. I kind of went into my own there.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to bring up controversy, I mean, him and Canteen Boy.
Yes. Oh gosh. Yeah.
So I went to research that because I hadn't seen it in a long time. I can't find it. It's like YouTube and stuff. I cannot find it.
I wonder if
every other Canteen Boy episode, or
except that one,
except for that one.
That almost sounds like NBC like copyright striked it just to keep it off YouTube or something.
I kind of don't blame them.
Yeah.
Like, it almost makes me want to see now if I can watch the episode with Sinead O'Connor where she ripped up the picture of the Pope.
Well,
Like, just, I wonder if that's out there too.
Yeah, well, and then of course, and not to get political or anything, but then when she just passed away a couple months ago, and then reading why she was doing that, and then you find out what's coming down the line again, like kind of a precursor to, Scandal and all these things.
Right.
But God, there's an episode right there of just going through all these movies and TV shows, and we'll get into predictions and things in another with movies and things that worked out in the future. But what people did or said in what came to pass years later. But yeah, I think you're right. Tom Hanks, quintessential pro on that show. I can't really think of anybody that was awful. I don't know. The problem is, and I don't know how you feel about this. It's like in the 90s watching it, in the early 2000s, being younger, all that stuff was current, like to what we grew up with, where now I would say 75% of the time I have to ask Erica, what is this host from? And it pains me. It pains me that I've become that guy.
Age.
Yeah, and she's usually like, oh, he's a rapper because that's her thing, or he, some movie, TV show flavor of the month that I don't watch. I mean, the musical guests, I, for the most part, at least know of. I might not like their music, but I at least know of them. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, the one thing that comes to mind for me, my aunt just chimed in. She said the Dick in a Box is one of the best. Of course, that's a classic.
That's a holiday classic on top of that.
It is a holiday classic. You're right. Where was I going with this? Oh, Ashley Simpson performing. And got caught lip syncing. Yeah. I just thought of that the other day because I was scrolling through my presets on my drive to work. That's her song came on, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then the turn around and blame the band, which is totally not the, take ownership over it. But yeah. I don't know. That was a disaster. That was like, it's crazy that there was a world we lived in where that was like headline news for like a week.
Big news, yeah.
I miss those days.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think what other SNL stuff are we missing?
I wanted to get into just a little bit of some of the sketches that, we kind of touched on it with Canteen Boy. Some of the sketches that you'd probably never get away with now.
Mm-hmm.
One of those is definitely we were talking about it the other day, the Cantori restaurant one.
Oh yes, with Kirstie Alley, yeah,
is one of my favorites before that, and I'm glad that I went back and researched it because I got that one and Pepperboy confused. Because I always thought that Kirstie Alley was in Pepperboy, and she's not.
Right,
Pepperboy is just a general, basically cast sketch. And Cantori is for those of you who don't remember exactly, it's an Italian restaurant that they're just very, very affectionate, but there's two distinct parts that I'm like, you'd never get away with it now. So they greet him at the door, and they take their coats and they're kissing him on the cheek and all that. And it's Adam Sandler and Dana Carvey and Kirstie Alley is the woman, and then who's her date, her husband? I could see him.
Oh yeah, I can't think of. I'm not quite sure who it is now either.
Anyway, so they're all very just touchy feely and all that. Well, it gets more and more into it. Well, eventually Dana Carvey just flat out licks. Oh, Kevin Nealon, that's who it was.
Yes, thank you.
Flat out licks Kirstie Alley from one side of her face, like up, down the other. Like, it's ridiculous. How I have done crazy things during improv shows and all kinds of just ridiculousness, and I am not afraid to push the envelope. However, that is me. I don't know if I could ever go up to anyone else
and do that,
let alone a celebrity that I probably don't know.
Right.
And just like, hey, I got this idea. Hear me out. Like, that's like, let me just lick you across your face. like it's one thing if it's a cast member that it's your coworker,
right?
It's a little easier ask because it's like I know she's gonna see the humor in this, I know he's gonna see the humor in this, or whatever the case may be. But this is like, hi, person I just met, like it just blows my mind. So there's that part. I believe Adam Sandler actually at one point grabs her top and looks down it. And I'm
I
like,
did not
there's
catch
no,
that.
yeah. When she's sitting down at the table, he grabs her, basically like her chest part of her shirt. It's for a split second and just looks down. And then the very end, because they're so touchy feely with the whole customer base, Victoria Jackson is sitting at a table alone by herself. Dana Carvey puts her on the table and she puts her legs straight up in the air and he stands between her legs. And this is live. This is crazy.
Right.
Now,
right.
I mean, and that's the comedy that I love. I love the stuff that pushes the envelope, and I love the stuff that makes the audience absolutely go bananas. Because years ago, there was a sketch at Second City, which obviously a lot of SNL people come from there, and I saw it live, and it was a very similar. It was, I want to say it was Cecily Strong, and he became a writer on SNL too. His name was Mike. I can't think of his last name.
Okay.
They were dogs live on stage, and they would basically like sniff each other's asses and roll around. But I mean, what drove me crazy about it was I'm like, they have to do this 5 nights a week. Like, somebody wrote this
and then said, "Hey, give it a shot."
And then they did it, and then it's like, oh, hey, it works. And it's like a Second City run is normally 3, 4, 5, 6 months. So 5 days a week for 6 months.
That's a lot of sniffing.
I mean, but it's crazy to me. We're like I say, and like I brought up a million times, like I do improv here and so on and so forth. If I did that with somebody, it's one time because the show always changes and it's always different. I might get away with it, or I might not, or backstage somebody might go, hey, don't ever do that again. And you're like, okay, done. I get it. That's okay. That's cool. We tried it. Didn't work. But I can't fathom like just doing that over and over again. You know, it's one of the magic things of like improv and comedy and live comedy, I guess, is the better. Yeah. I mean, just to hear an audience just go apey is just so much fun to me, whether I do it or even just watching it on Saturday Night Live.
So, in addition to that, I also just
ramble
pulled
over.
up.
Sorry.
No. I think you nailed it, and that is something as somebody who's not doing stuff on stage. It's very interesting to hear that point of view because when you see it on TV, it's like, oh yeah, they did it. They did some goofy thing, and obviously, if they were cast members or coworkers, But to have to do it over and over again in another instance, I would be like, oh God, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, write me out of the sketch, but you can't. But it's not how it works.
I was going to say one other one that you probably wouldn't get away with anymore is Julia Sweeney when she played Pat.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I was just looking up an article that had different skits that wouldn't make it anymore. That got turned into a movie too, which is one of the few SNL movies. I did not see that one, so I can't say if it's good or bad.
I think I did once. That's another one that it's like, yeah, it's great for a 5-minute sketch.
Yeah, and I think even as a kid, in the 90s watching that sketch, it was like, okay, the gist of it the first time I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny, But then I feel like it was very one note. Like you could only put that character in so many instances where it was the same repeated punchline over and over again.
Absolutely. But it is fun though to see how many times they can try to paint her into a corner.
Yes.
Excuse me, them into a corner.
And still get out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I watched one the other night when I fell down the rabbit hole, and I never saw it before. And Kirstie Alley played her mom/dad.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I don't think I ever saw that.
So now it's because it's Chris Rock comes in and he's super young, which is fun to watch too. And he goes, "Your mom, dad, you have a guest. You have a guest here."
Right.
And then somebody said something like, so it was just the three of them, and it was like, so it's Pat's birthday. That must bring back a lot of memories. that must have been an awful labor, painful, no waiting.
Right.
Yeah. And it's Kevin Nealon just trying to awkwardly, and Christy Alley's like,
through-
it was one of the greatest days of my life, the day that my child was born. It's.
Yeah, well, it's funny you bring that up because I'm on Ranker right now, and they have the top 20. Let's see, top 20 sketches of the 1990s, and Pat comes in at number 18.
Damn.
So I'm gonna go through these. You give me a yay or nay. This was one. I totally forgot Adam Sandler did this, but I kind of enjoyed it. Number 20 was the Denise Show. Do you remember the Denise Show?
I had that on my list. Yeah.
Yes, I love the. Why can't you get it? It's over. You and me are over. Face reality. We're not a couple. Move on. Will you go back out with me? No. Then the show must go on. he keeps taking calls.
And
okay,
call her and hang up. Hello,
yes.
Nick.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, we're taking calls tonight. Tonight's subject is Denise. Have you seen her? Has she said anything about me? Let's take another call. Hello. 19. We have Opperman, which. Yes. Opperman was fine. I enjoyed it. I'm glad it was just a weekend update thing because that could not carry on. I don't think.
I'm surprised it didn't get a movie though.
I also am.
It would have been
awful,
that as well. But I'm shocked it did not.
Like I said, we have 18. We have Pat. 17, like you mentioned, Canteen Boy. 16. We already talked about the Roxbury guys, which, I want to say this was from the Live from New York book, or maybe it was Chris Kattan's autobiography because yes, I read that too. They could not stand each other after they were friends at first, and then they eventually became very, very cold towards one another, from my understanding. Yeah, so I don't know if it was during the filming or after the filming, but I think it was kind of to an extent of Will Ferrell's stock kept rising, and Chris Kattan became what was that movie he made that looked awful? I never saw it.
The Mafia one?
Yes. What was that called?
Oh, Mickey Blue Eyes.
Oh, is that what it was?
Maybe.
Okay. I thought that was a Hugh Grant movie.
Oh, maybe.
Hold on. Oh, Chris Kattan was apparently in Sharknado 5. Did you know that?
No.
I did not know.
Bastard.
Corky Romano. Romano.
That was it. Yeah.
Okay, 16, 15, we got Simon, which you mentioned. 14, this was one I really enjoyed as a kid. I didn't get half the jokes. But Tim Meadows is the ladies' man.
Oh, yeah.
I love.
With the
never saw that movie either, though.
That you want to go back to the host thing real quick? The one with The Rock is probably one of the best ladies' mans I have ever seen.
Yes.
Yeah, I just went back to your apartment and fell asleep. Yeah, Josh with the Corky Romano.
Corky Romano, thank you, Josh. I could not for the life of me remember Corky Romano. 13, we have Christopher Walken as the Continental. I remember liking that one as a kid.
Oh, it's fantastic.
12, we have Sprockets, which I don't know if I'd have it that high, but whatever. This was one I really enjoyed, and I know she really got injured from doing this sketch multiple times, and that's Mary Catherine Gallagher with Molly Shannon.
Yeah, there was another movie.
Yes, Superstar, right? Another one I never saw. I really need to cross these off the list. Number 10, this was, even as a kid, I thought this cartoon was hilarious. Not Steve Carell. Stephen Colbert was one of the writers, and Steve Carell did the voice of one of the characters, and that's the Ambiguously Gay Duo.
Yep.
God, that was so. Yes. 9, Coffee Talk, we mentioned. Okay, what about this? What about the Superfans? That's number 8. Where do you stand on the Superfans? Is it overplayed? Is it because we're Chicago people, or what?
I think it's a hell of a lot funnier to us than it probably is to anybody else. And
I've wondered that in the past myself.
I can't imagine. Well, I would imagine like Coffee Talk, or even like, remember Anna? I think it was Anna Gasteyer and Rachel. Amy Poehler and Maya Rudolph would do.
They had
their
Jersey Brooklyn
Girl
or Bronx,
yeah. And that's funny and so on and so forth. But I'm sure like people in Jersey are just, or even like Coffee Talk, Linda Richmond. I'm sure that was a hell of a lot funnier if we had been like Jewish and from New York. But
right. And that's interesting you bring that up because, like you said, when they do skits based on other locations, or like the Californians, from like
that's one
it's kind of lost. Yeah.
But I don't think I appreciate it as much as some people, because that to me, that sketch, every time they do it, I felt like it was too long.
Yeah, it goes on too long. And I think the reason I liked that sketch is because they always end up breaking. There is something
Yes.
I love, and I know as an actor you probably don't like it when it's happening to you, but like it's funny when Eric and I watch SNL, she probably laughs the hardest when someone breaks. Like that is the best
I
part of the show for her.
it has its moments and it has its place. I don't.
Mhm.
It depends on what side of it you're on. If I'm the one doing it to you, then I mean, not
Yeah,
because
you
that, like I
won.
said, not only did I win, but when you can drag the audience down with you and all hell breaks loose, it's just fantastic.
Well,
And
and then
it's
you had guys like, and I enjoyed both of their work for the most part, but then you had people like Horatio Sands and Jimmy Fallon, who I feel like literally broke every single sketch, or maybe
yeah.
like 75% of the time, 50% of the time.
Fallon would just laugh. Horatio
Yeah,
Sands would full on like break character. Like
yeah,
his
yeah.
voice would
Would
change.
change.
So
Yeah,
he would take himself out of it for that 10 seconds or whatever.
right.
Like,
And then try and get back in.
yeah.
Number
Where
7,
Fallon would
they
just be giggling in the corner.
yes, and then someone calling him out on it after the show. Number 7, the Chris Farley show, him interviewing Paul McCartney. Remember that one time
Top
when
10
you were in the
moment.
Beatles? Yeah.
We make
That was
reference to that in improv all the time. Not
oh,
we
do
don't
you?
rip it off, but it's always just like if we don't have anything to say, like during a rehearsal, I'll always look at the director and I go, Did you ever see Die Hard? I do
I
that to
love
him all the time.
they have memorable lines right here. Remember when you were in the Beatles and you were supposed to be dead and there were all these clues, like you play some song backwards and it'd say Paul is dead and everyone thought you were dead and that was a hoax, right? And then Paul McCartney says, "Yeah, I wasn't really dead."
Or
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
No,
That's a great one.
number 6, they have Pumping Up with Hans and Franz, which I
Yep.
enjoyed. And if you haven't, on the Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast, this was probably within the last 6 months. He had Dana Carvey, Kevin Nealon, and Robert Smigel on because he wrote it too.
Nice.
The 3 of them were on, and they literally read the script of this never produced movie, which was the Hans and Franz movie.
That's awesome.
And they literally wrote Arnold Schwarzenegger into it, and he was going to be like a main character. So I don't think they were able to get him at the time. And that's why it kind of all fell apart because it wasn't like he was going to be a guest spot. He was literally like the third main character in the entire movie.
That would have been that. See, now that might have been decent.
I mean, the script was hysterical. Just having 4 guys sit around reading the script as a podcast was hysterical. I highly recommend checking that out if you got time. They broke it into like 3 different episodes. So,
Okay.
number 5, this is my go-to for Christmas. Going back to Alec Baldwin, Delicious Dish.
Yes.
With Anna Gasteyer and Molly Shannon. And
God,
Sweaty
how
Balls.
they didn't break during that.
No, not once. Not once. At least as far as I know, not once.
No,
But,
never. I've studied that sketch. I've seen it so many times.
I love the are you putting anything out for Santa? No, I can't because of the incessant rat problem.
You know what? It's even funnier on a podcast now because you're going through the mic and it's going through the headphones.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Hot mic. They also have this one's okay. Number 4, Church Chat. I think I like Dana Carvey a lot. Not probably one of my favorites of his, but still definitely a good one.
It had its moments, but it ran its course.
Yes, I think that was definitely it.
That came from his stand-up. That's like real.
Did it really?
Yes.
I remember watching his not much maligned, but like that real quick variety show he did on ABC.
Mm-hmm.
There was a really good documentary about that. I can't remember what streaming service it's on.
I know. I have to watch it still.
I highly recommend it. 3, Wayne's World. I think that's a classic. The one where Tom Hanks is the roadie for Aerosmith.
Yeah, that's one of the best ones.
It's probably my favorite. Number 2,
or the Madonna countdown one.
Oh yes, that's right. That is a good
You're
one.
both worthy. Now get up.
Celebrity Jeopardy. Where do you stand on Celebrity Jeopardy?
Oh, freaking every single one's a home run. Every single
I agree.
one. I don't think I've seen one I didn't like. Between Sean Connery and Turd Ferguson and
Yes,
Bjork, everything is music. And the swan dress.
all the mispronounced titles for the categories and all that stuff.
Penis Maitia.
Anal bum cover. Yeah, so good. I remember our mutual friend John would literally in band in junior high. We'd be in the band room for our lessons, and he would get start reenacting the Jeopardy skit to our band director, and we wouldn't practice. We would just be doing SNL skits the entire time.
We've all done it.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, and then number one we discussed.
Back. Thank you, Josh. Let's see what you wagered. It's suck it, Trebek.
And then lastly,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We said no, motivational speaker was number one, but oh god, yeah, those Jeopardy ones are so good.
We would have accepted Bow Wow or Rough, just the way your mother likes it.
Your mother likes it, Trebek.
I hope we didn't wake you last night.
So I don't know. I'm sure we still have plenty to discuss when it comes to SNL.
God, yeah.
I know this will not be the only SNL episode, but before we wrap up, is there anything glaring that you want to mention or discuss real quick?
Oh man. I have to bring this up because this is another one that I watch constantly. Is Chris Farley, Adam Sandler reading the Zaggett's Guide?
Yes,
the old people. One of my favorites. Chris Farley just knocks it out of the park. Just is like the kind of cute old neighbor type lady, and Adam Sandler just wanting to die. I mean, literally straight on into the camera and just goes, "God, give me cancer now."
Yes, I'm looking up the. It says right here.
Holy cannoli! Yeah, like that whole.
Hank and I have decided to spend a nice quiet evening at home. Isn't that right, Hank? The book is gone, but the mouth goes on.
It just reminds me of like customers and stuff that I've had, like these old men that bitch about their wives and stuff. So it's like a lot of it I feel like is taken from real life. Adam Sandler probably saw some guy that was just in a restaurant just miserable or, something.
Here's another good one. Well, I knew that you and Hank would be celebrating your 35th wedding anniversary, so I thought I'd stop by with a present. And box is given to Beverly while Pauline sits next to Hank. Beverly says, "Oh, you shouldn't have. Isn't this nice, Hank? Look how pretty it is." Hank, "Please let it be a gun."
There's two of them now. Yeah,
so,
that's one of my favorites too.
That's a really good one. All right. Well, Sean, you know what that means.
Yep.
Whoops, you know what the music means. Our time is up.
But there's so much more.
There is so much more. So we will be back again in the near future with more SNL at some point. Sean and I, we're going to try every other Thursday, make this a regular thing so you can expect it as opposed to random days. I apologize. That's I blame my children. But we're hoping...
And one day they'll blame you in therapy, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, they'll be pulling the plug on me then when I get older. On that note, we will be back hopefully next... we'll figure it out. It'll be every other Thursday going forward, maybe with a little other ones sprinkled in here and there. We'll see. Sean, thank you so much. Be sure to check out the website, linktree.com/MMC podcast. You can find Facebook, email, call the show. All the info is there. We'll be back next time with more fun and tomfoolery on the Millennial Midlife Crisis Podcast. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.